This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest Justice Sarah Stewart, spelled with an H, S-A-R-A-H, Stewart, who is an associate member of the Alabama Supreme Court and has been for quite a while now, even though she's a young, pretty lady. Seems like all the ladies on the court are not only brilliant and smart intellectually, but they're beautiful too. You had Kelly Wise on the show before, and we're glad to have Justice Sarah Stewart on the show with us today. Sarah, thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I need to call you Justice, but I'm so old I call people by their first name.
I'm perfectly happy
I
with Sarah.
apologize for doing that.
No.
Sarah is a long-time lawyer. Did you practice law in Mobile before you went on the bench?
I did. I practiced law for about 14 years.
14 years there in Mobile, not Baldwin County.
Mobile.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I graduated from Vanderbilt Law School in '92.
That's right. You were a Vanderbilt graduate.
Yeah. And then I went to, was in private practice until 2006 when Governor Riley appointed me to the Circuit Court bench.
Now, what were you with one of the big firms, or you were by yourself, or how did you practice law?
Both.
Okay.
So I started out with Hand Arundel.
That's the
Which
biggest
is a big
firm.
Yeah, in Mobile.
It's the most traditional long firm.
Yes.
So you start. I guess they're so powerful and big that you almost have to go to Vanderbilt, Virginia, before they hire you.
Well, they do hire a lot of great kids from all those kinds of schools, but they also hire a lot from University of Alabama and Cumberland too.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. But so I started with them. I worked for them for a few years, and then I went to work for just a two-person law firm. And then when my daughter was born in 1996, I decided it would be easier for all of our family if I had my own practice. So I had my own law firm, and then when my brother got out of Cumberland, we practiced law together.
Oh, you have a brother that's a lawyer.
Yeah.
Is he still in Mobile?
He is, well, he was. He actually died about 9 years ago,
sorry.
unexpectedly. Oh, thank you. It was really difficult for our family, but we pushed through. He was only 48. So
Was it just two of y'all?
Yes.
And both of y'all became lawyers?
Yeah.
Where did you go to undergraduate school?
I went to the University of Arkansas.
Okay,
so
and
I'm
then?
a pig.
Are you from Arkansas originally?
Well, not really. My dad was a petroleum geologist, and so we lived overseas until I was 14. And then I went to high school in Oklahoma, and I went to college, and I also have a master's degree from the University of Arkansas, actually in communication. And then I went to work for McRae's department stores. Do you remember them?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, well, they weren't based out of Mobile, though, were they?
They were in Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay,
So I was in
that's
their
right.
management training program, and I met my husband, who's from Selma.
He's from Selma,
yes.
born and raised in Selma.
And he was a buyer with McRae, so he was in Jackson. And so
Are y'all about the same age and everything?
No, he's 5 years older than me.
Well,
I
close
tease
to
him
it,
all the time about being a cradle robber. So we got married right
So y'all both were working McRae's when y'all met?
Yes, yes. So I decided I wanted to go to law school because I really didn't like retail. And we went to Vanderbilt and came back to Alabama, and I found my spiritual home here. I'm very happy here. We've lived in Mobile now 31 years. So
now you still live in Mobile. Most everybody on the court. I was talking to my daughter about you being on the show, and I was writing a column that's going to come out in about 2 weeks about you running for the court and explain to the voters in the state about the Supreme Court general and how many people are up for election this year. Unusual, you got 5 seats up for election in next year in 2024. But I was talking to him, most everybody, my closest friends on the court, and it makes sense, have always done their legal study and everything out of their home office. Bill Thompson, he's always done it on the Court of Civil Appeals. He's one of my best friends, and Jay Mitchell does too, and I guess everybody does.
Yeah.
Except the ones who actually live here in Montgomery may go down to the office, like Kelly Wise and Tom Parker.
And Justice Sellers goes to the office
That's
every
right.
day.
He's from here too. That's right. Yeah.
Right. But I know, like Justice Mendham is in Dothan.
Yeah.
And he has an office in the courthouse, and he goes to the courthouse every day in Dothan. And I also have an office in Mobile.
They've
in the
given you an
courthouse.
office in Mobile,
Yeah.
so you go down there to the courthouse.
So I go down there too.
So back to you must have been smart as a dickens to get Did you work a while at McRae's before you went to law school?
Yes, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you decided to go to law school after
Yeah.
reading. You know, Kelly had a similar experience. She had a very good job with Procter & Gamble or somebody like that.
She
or
was a
Johnson-
nursing major. Yeah.
And Johnson Johnson, something like that, which is really a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good background. So you then went to Vanderbilt to law school, and then you settled in Mobile because of the Hand Arundel
Right.
offer.
Right.
Now, when you were at Hand Arundel, did you specialize in a certain area?
Not really. I was a young associate, and I did whatever they told me to do.
Do you know I'm so old? I tell you, one of my fraternity brothers he was from Jasper, went with Hand Arundel, Kane O'Rear.
Oh, sure.
Is Kane still practicing?
He is still practicing. In fact, I worked with him some. He did employment law, so I did some work with him.
Kane was real quiet.
Yeah, he's great though. I love him.
He was brilliant in college. He was vice president of the SGA, but very quiet guy and very just smart as a dickens. And he went on to law school. I think he went to Alabama Law School. Or maybe he went to Vanderbilt. He may have gone off too. He was so smart.
I do not remember. I'm sorry.
Do you know? Do you know that to show you how old I am, and Kane would be the same way? Tom Parker and I have been friends since high school.
Wow.
The seat you're running for.
Yeah.
By the way, viewers, she is sitting on the Supreme Court currently, but she's running for Chief Justice for the seat that Tom Parker cannot run for. So I've revealed my age. If you get 70 years old, you cannot run for a judgeship in Alabama, which I think is antiquated law. I think you probably could raise it 5 years easily.
I think so too.
Time has changed. But anyway, Tom's retiring. And I saw him, he said Dottie had fallen or something.
She did. She fell and broke her wrist. And
Yeah.
it was really difficult for their family. But I think she's doing much better. And I think Tom, he's been a really great Chief Justice for us.
Well,
Do you know when he finishes his term, he'll be the first Chief Justice we've had in office for a full term since 2001.
Now, did Moore serve a full term one time?
Nope.
He never did.
He
was
did.
kicked out 2 times, wasn't he?
Right.
As Chief Justice.
So when he got kicked out, and then Drayton Neighbors was appointed, and then
Drayton got beat.
Sue Bell Cobb beat
Beat
him,
him,
and then she quit early, and Chuck Malone was appointed, and then Roy beat him, and then Roy was removed from office. Lynn Stewart was appointed, and then Tom ran.
So Tom has been the only full 6-year term, is that thing.
Yeah.
Now, did Tom take the pattern you're taking? He was not on the court. He ran for Supreme Court Chief Justice from the field, didn't he?
I believe so.
He was practicing law privately here in Montgomery.
I think so. I think that's right.
I think that's right.
I know he did a lot of stuff under Chief Roy Moore's time. I think the first time, maybe he was with Administrative Office of Courts.
That's right.
Something like that.
That's
yeah.
right, yeah. Well, Tom and I went to Boy State together long years ago. And I had forgotten about it. He reminded me about it recently. You know, he said, every time I see him, he reminds me about that. But back to that was a good experience at McRae's, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I bet that was kind of a tough choice. What made you think about moving from McRae's, which you probably had a pretty good career?
Mm-hmm.
You had a master's. But now McRae's, is it still in business, though?
No, they got bought by Parisians, and then Parisians got bought by Pizitz. And then Pizitz declared bankruptcy, and I can't remember who bought them. Dillard's, maybe?
I think Dillard's did.
Maybe.
Did you think when you were going to undergraduate school at Arkansas that you'd want to be a lawyer, or did you think you want to be in retail?
Well, I actually didn't want to be in retail either. My thought was that I was going to work for a while in business and then go get a PhD in communication and work on communication from kind of a communication audit and business field. Somehow that got derailed in my time in retail. And actually my brother always wanted to be a lawyer. He said, why don't you take the LSAT and see how you do? And I did well enough that I was able to get into Vanderbilt, and I actually had a scholarship to go there.
Wow.
So it was great.
Sarah, now you got 2 children?
I do.
Now how old are they and where are they?
Oh, I love to talk about my children. They are 26 and 23.
Boy, girl?
Both girls.
Boy, girl.
Mariah, my oldest, is getting a PhD in cancer biology
Where is she
at
doing
UNC Chapel Hill.
Wow, she must
in
be
the
smart.
#3 school in the world for that
Wow,
area.
undergraduate and graduate at Chapel Hill?
Well, she did her undergrad at Millsaps,
Okay.
so she's doing her PhD there, and she's got about a year and a half left of that. Very proud of her. She's bought a townhome in Chapel Hill. Really
She's
loves that.
26.
She's 26.
Now she's finished her education and she's
Right.
actually working.
Well, no. She's got a PhD in a they call it a wet field, like cancer biology, where she has to grow her cells and experiment. Those usually take 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
So she's got about a year and a half left of that PhD. But she's working as far as she does research in a lab in her PhD program. She's not going to class. So, and then my youngest daughter is in St. Louis.
She's 24.
She's 23. She graduated from Hendrix College, which is like Millsaps. It's a little Methodist college in Arkansas, like Birmingham Southern.
I've not heard of Hendrix before.
Yeah, it's like Birmingham Southern. It's about
Yeah.
1,600 kids. So she graduated in May from there, and she's at Washington University in St. Louis. She's working as a program coordinator in an interdisciplinary study where she's coordinating the quantum physics department and their outreach to engineering and math. And she was trying to explain to me about factoring in security and quantum computers, and she's also a lot smarter than me. So both of my children are.
Both of them sound pretty smart.
Both of my children are.
But you're pretty smart too. They've gone to Arkansas and Vanderbilt. But now, back to your career. After you left Hand Arundel, you went with another firm. What were you solo practicing in Mobile? What were you like a specialty there? Did you have any special field you practiced, or took everything?
We called it threshold law. If you walk over our threshold, we'll take your case. But we represented mostly small businesses, just regular folks. We didn't have a big like.
And your brother
plaintiff's
was in there
firm.
with you,
Right. We didn't do a bunch of like med mal or anything like that. We didn't do car wrecks. But we represented a lot of small businesses. We tried to help them get things like key man insurance and work them through some of their contracts. And then we just just whoever wanted to have a lawyer gets
Well,
help.
Judge, when did you decide to run for circuit judge in Mobile? You were there 13 years as a circuit judge. Now, how many years you been on the Supreme Court?
4.
4 years. Oh, this is your first term then?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you served 13 years. O'Reilly appointed you to a circuit judgeship.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Bobby Kendall. I don't know if you knew Judge Kendall.
I knew his daddy.
Yeah.
That's how far back I go.
Yeah.
The original Robert Kendall was
Yeah.
he was in the state senate.
That's right.
From
That's
a
right.
rural county, Evergreen.
Evergreen. That's right.
Yeah.
And so Judge.
He was a good man.
Oh yeah. But both his.
So
dad and
Bob, his son, went on the bench in Mobile.
He did, and he died of cancer, of lung cancer,
Must have
in
been pretty young.
2005. So I got the appointment to his
In
spot.
2005.
Yeah, so it was like right at the edge. It was like January 4th or 5th of 2006 when I took the bench there. And then I ran 3 times there unopposed. And then I decided that I would take a shot at, just as Murdoch was retiring, he wasn't going to run again. And so
He was a fraternity brother of mine.
really?
Yeah, he was younger than me and Kane, but he's from Enterprise
Yeah,
originally
yeah.
at Alabama. We all went to Alabama. But Sarah, what about now you one of 5 seats. Let me tell my viewers if I can, and you coach me on this.
Sure.
Because we are, there's 6-year staggered terms, folks, on the Supreme Court. For some reason, there are 9 members of the Supreme Court, but 5 seats are up this year. And Sarah Stewart is in one of the seats that's up for election.
Right.
And you would be running for your 2nd term to that seat. Jay Mitchell is running for his 2nd term. Tommy Bryan's running for a term. So your seat, Jay Mitchell's, Tommy Bryan,
Justice Sellers.
Will Sellers is up. That's right.
Right.
And then Tom Parker can't run.
Right.
And that's what you're running from. You're moving from associate
Yeah.
to.
So my seat is empty then, and so it's an open seat. And right now, I think Judge Chris McCool has said that he wants to do that. And then, so I'm running for the chief's spot.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you do it. I mean, somebody on the court that has experience there.
Yeah.
But let's name the members of the Supreme Court. We've named you and Jay Mitchell
Want me to do it in seniority?
Yeah,
It's
that'd be
easier
good.
that way.
Yeah, you do it. You name
And
it.
I'm going like this because we sit at
Do y'all
general
sit
conference.
based on seniority?
We do.
I wonder when y'all
on
were
a big
sitting
oval
there.
table or at oral arguments, we sit by seniority. So the chief, and then before, just recently, we had Justice Mike Boland.
Right.
You know, he's retired, and Justice Greg Cook took his spot.
Right.
So Greg is now at the bottom. So going
I went to the
sen-
investiture for Kelly and Greg.
Yeah.
Kelly's moving on in there, isn't she?
She is. She is. That's what. So we have our two senior justices are Greg Shaw and Kelly Wise, and so Kelly is in charge of her division. So we call it the Wise division.
She referred to that as
Yeah.
an investiture.
Yeah. And I'm actually in her division. So it's Justice Wise, and then Justice Tommy Bryan, and then Justice Will Sellers, and then Justice Brad Mendham, and then me. And then Justice Jay Mitchell, and then Justice Greg Cook now.
That's right, you got him.
Yeah.
Brad Mendham's very popular in Dothan.
Oh, he's wonderful.
They love him at the First Baptist Church down there.
Yeah, he was a trial judge too. So we've
That's
known each other
right.
for years.
That's right.
And have been really good friends for a long time.
I've known Tommy Brown since he was a little boy. Growing up in Brantley.
Yes,
He's got the sweetest wife.
he does, Pam.
I sat by Pam and Sam Shaw at the investiture.
Yeah.
Kelly gave me a special seat. I was so appreciative and so honored by that. She asked me to come, but Greg Cook had invited me too.
It was a lovely ceremony.
It was. You know,
It's
Cook's
nice.
perfect for that job.
He is.
He's the right age and has the right experience and temperament. I think he has an Ivy League degree.
He does. He went to Harvard Law School.
There's several of y'all who have what I call elite school degrees. Now, Will Sellers went to tax law at NYU,
Right.
but Jay Mitchell went
To Virginia.
to Virginia. You went to Vanderbilt. Tom
Went to Vanderbilt.
went to Vanderbilt. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah. So you got there's several that have from what's called the elite law. Greg went to Harvard, didn't he? Or something
Greg
like that.
Cook, yes.
Yeah, he went to
did.
Harvard.
He did.
Yeah. He went to Harvard undergraduate school. It was
He
one of
did.
those Ivy League schools.
Now, let me just say though that the other ones that didn't go there also
thing.
they have they're great justices and contribute
Right.
just as much as the rest of
I
us
knew
do.
that, yeah. I wasn't
So-
trying to make light
No,
of
no,
that.
no, no.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I think everybody. One of the things that I've really valued about being on the Supreme Court is instead of there's just me as a circuit court judge, now I've got 8 other people that I can rely on and talk to. And there have been times when I might have circulated an opinion where the rest of them were like, we don't think you've got this right. And I've changed it because I think they're all so smart, and it's great to be able to talk to them all about things that we're trying to do.
You know, talk to me, our viewers, if you will, about the hierarchy of the court system, because very few people, there wouldn't be 1 in 100 that could have named the 9 judges in the Supreme Court. You know that.
I
don't
know.
you? I mean,
I don't know that I could have done it as a circuit judge.
even as a circuit judge, you're not sure
No,
you could have.
No.
But so that's what that tells you. But explain about the appellate system and everything, where there's 5 members of the Court of Civil Appeals, Court of Criminal Appeals, and then y'all are here,
Yeah.
and how the cases get
Sure.
there, and y'all still are like the United States Supreme Court in that y'all don't have to hear every case. You kind of look.
It depends on what kind of case
Explain
it is.
the whole hierarchy, if
so-
you would, though.
Sure, absolutely. So we have 252 trial court judges. That would
Around
be
the state.
around the state. So we
And
have
which you came from.
Right.
One of the appellate.
So that we have the district court judges that hear, they do all kind of the preliminary parts of criminal cases, and they hear non-jury trials and cases that are non-jury with the amount of controversy is less than 25,000. Anything above that, or any kind of jury trial, any kind of felony charge that's been indicted by a grand jury, a circuit court judge would hear. So those are kind of our trial judges. They do all the day-to-day work. They're the ones who try cases, who take testimony, who listen to witnesses, who sentence folks. That they do all of that kind of work. So once a case has had a resolution, whether it's a civil case and it's either a jury verdict or the judge has decided there's not enough facts in dispute to go to court, so it's dismissed as a matter of law, or if it's a criminal case and we've had a verdict, then all of that, if the parties want, can come up to appeal. So Alabama is actually very unique, not surprisingly, because we have lots of unique things about us. But we have a criminal court of appeals that hears every criminal case that's appealed. So everything goes up to them, and their job and responsibility is to look at what the trial judges did and say whether or not they got it right. So that's their sole purpose.
They have to hear all of them.
They hear
By
all
law,
of them.
they have to hear all of them.
That's right.
That's why their caseload's so heavy.
It is.
They have a heavy caseload.
And then to get from the Court of Criminal Appeals to our court, you file what we call a writ of certiorari. And we're like the United States Supreme Court in that way. They only take writs up there, cert writs. And so that's how we get a case from criminal appeals. And it's different. We're not looking back at what the trial judges did. We're looking at what the Court of Criminal Appeals did and whether they violated some aspect of the law.
Some court, they made a mistake.
They made a mistake in the law. So we're not going back and re-examining the facts.
Back up, but that's what the Court of Appeals is doing too. Is they don't dispute what a jury trial's done.
Well, they can. They can say there's not sufficient evidence. They can say that a trial judge charged the jury incorrectly. Those kinds of things.
Using error, though, is what they would.
Yes, that's right.
Would get around appeal.
Find the court in error. But they can't just say the jury got it wrong.
That's what I was talking about. That's what I was referring to.
That's not something they can do.
You can't overrule that part.
No.
And
has to be something wrong with the process.
The caseload, I've had Mary Wyndham and, of course, Chris McCoo, who's running for your seat, to move from the Court of Criminal Appeals. I didn't know that. I was talking to her one day, what a heavy caseload they have. But that's the reason.
Right.
They have to, by law, hear everything.
That's
the Court of Civil Appeals doesn't have to do that.
No, they don't. So they're a little bit more limited jurisdiction. They do hear every juvenile and domestic case that comes up.
They have to hear those?
They have to hear those at first. And then any cases that are less than $50,000 in controversy. So we get all the rest of them, and then any juvenile case or domestic case would come up on that same cert process as the criminal cases do.
So you mean if a civil case is over $50,000, they can circumvent the Court of Civil Appeals and go straight to y'all?
Straight to us.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I sure didn't know that.
So we have a lot, we call those direct appeals. So we have a good chunk of direct appeals, and then the rest of what we have is cert, either through criminal cases, all through the Court of Criminal Appeals, and then whatever the Court of Civil Appeals has sent up.
You know, I've asked, I've written a book on Alabama politics called Goats and Governors.
I got that.
Well,
you gave it to me.
Yeah, I gave you one. I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I've read it. Yeah, it's great.
Well, in there I talk about this old V.O. Key philosophy of friends and neighbors politics, which has prevailed in the South and very prominent in Alabama historically. And what I'm getting around to asking you is there anybody else from Mobile that is on the court? Are you the only Mobilian on the court?
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't think there's a Huntsville person on the court.
There's not.
Isn't that surprising?
It is.
As big as Huntsville is now.
It is, and when you look at the voter base, lots of Republican votes are Birmingham North, and all of the justices are Republicans.
Right.
So it is very surprising to me that we don't have somebody from Florence, Huntsville,
that whole area.
Just that whole area. Gadsden,
well, it's surprising it's not more than one. Now,
Yeah.
Mobile has shown a propensity for really adopting the friends and neighbors politics. And they, for some reason, know if somebody's from Mobile. Did you see that in your first race? I forget who you ran against your first time.
Well, awkwardly, I ran against Justice Mendham because he got the appointment
That's right.
right in the middle of the campaign.
Okay. And you beat him.
I did. I did, but he then got the appointment to Chief
Right,
Justice Parker's spot. So it all worked out. As I told you, we were really good friends.
You and Mendham were?
Yes, we were
because
trial
you both
judges.
were circuit
Right,
judges.
and we worked together on the education committee. I was the education chair, and he was on the committee. And
So
I'd
wasn't
worked
any
with him
bad
for
blood
years.
between y'all?
No,
Y'all
no,
really
and we
together?
still are really good friends, and
Let
which
me
is
ask-
I'm very grateful for, and that has a testament
Was it a close
to his
race?
character.
I can't remember. It was a close
It was.
race.
It was.
Yeah, because I thought Mendham might win that race, and I didn't know you at the time. I don't think I did, but anyway, I'm trying to go back and rehash that race. Did you see that did you get a good Mobile vote, the reason you probably won that
Yeah,
thing?
I got a good Mobile vote, Baldwin County, and then I did really well actually in Huntsville and Florence. That
They
area
knew
there.
you were from Mobile, didn't
Yeah,
they, though?
they did.
I've asked people in not Supreme Court races, people can raise some money in those races, but these low-profile secondary races,
Very low name recognition.
but I'll still see a friends and neighbors politics.
Yeah.
I'll see, like Mendham will do well in the Wiregrass.
Yeah.
You know, because he's from there.
Yeah.
It still prevails.
Yes, I think so, and especially now with the advent of social media and email. I mean,
That's what it is.
That's a lot. There's a lot of campaigning that we do that way now.
So you really won that race in the the Huntsville and Mobile areas, really?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I don't know if you got time. We ain't got about a minute left, but
Sure.
I want to tell our viewers that you are running for the Chief Justice job.
Right.
And I asked you prior to the show, I'm not going to put you on the spot. I don't know why you would do that because you don't really have any more things. All 9 justices on the Supreme Court have the same vote. All you do is take up about 10 times the workload because you got to be the administrator of the court system.
And that's the whole reason why I want to run.
I was going to ask you
So
that. Why?
That is it. We, because of my years as a trial judge, I really feel like I'm sort of uniquely placed to be able to do some things for the trial courts. You know, we have 2,100 employees in the judicial system, but only about 200 of those work for either the appellate courts or administrative office of courts. All the rest of those 1,900 folks work for the trial court system. So that's where all the energy and the resources need to be pushed down, is really in that
So
area.
you're really doing it to try to help the court system.
That's exactly why I'm running.
You know, unselfishly. Because from a selfish standpoint, it's not helping you any.
No.
I mean, you got the same
No,
vote. All you do
same
is
vote.
take
I make $1,000 more a year.
Really? I'm thinking.
And it's a lot of administrative responsibility, but I really want to approach it as a team with all of the other members of the Supreme Court, because I think we would be so much stronger if we approached it that way. And so that's my goal, to do that. And then also, and I know that you are appreciative of this, but I think the Supreme Court chief really sets the tone for kind of the attitudes and the values that go down from the apex down to the court system. And so making sure that our courthouses are never closed, making sure that the court system is transparent and accountable, and then that we are really, you know, when you think about the Bill of Rights, 5 of the 10 amendments have to do with the justice system. So I really want to make sure that we are protecting everybody's rights in Alabama and that we are paying attention to safeguarding those rights.
Well, you're doing it for the right reason. I appreciate that. Folks, our time's up. Our guest tonight has been Justice of the Supreme Court, Sarah Stewart, and she is moving from Associate Justice to State Chief Justice job. He's running the Chief Justice job on next year's ballot. All of them are Republicans. So we thank Sarah for being with Judge Stewart for being with us, and we thank you viewers for watching. Hope you tune in again next week for Alabama Politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.